Hello, welcome to episode 183 of the Craft House Magic Podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is Thursday the 23rd of September. So welcome everybody. I hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today I have some knitting, a gadget and a few questions from the Ask Me Anything thread. I feel like I haven't got an awful lot to show you this week just because I spent the weekend organising my craft room and all the different bits and bobs around the house. But I do have a few bits of knitting to show you. So let's get on with the good stuff, shall we? Let's talk about the knitting. So first of all, I have a pair of rather long socks, which I've squished down on these sock blockers to show you, but they are basically knee-high socks. And these are knitted with some lovely yarn that my friend, I think it was Julianne who sent me this skein. It is a Woll Butt. It's a Woll Butt skein of yarn all the way from Austria, and it is colourway 81924. And my mum knitted a sock tube for me, and I thought actually Adam could do with another pair of sort of knee-high socks. So mum knitted a big tube which is 60 stitches and then the ribs either end, and then I've just cut them into 2 socks, added the toes, added the heels, and then they're really long. So I wouldn't always recommend making a sock tube into 1 pair of socks unless you have very skinny legs like my husband Adam. And he loves knee-high socks just to keep him nice and warm underneath his work trousers, because he's got very skinny calves, and obviously if you're knitting a tube that's the same all the way down, you might have trouble getting the sock over your calf muscle, but he's got really slim legs, so they're ideal for him. If you were going to knit some knee-high socks, you'd probably need to do some increases at the top of the leg so that it would go up nicely over the muscle. But these are perfect for him. They're not exactly matching, just because when mum knitted the tube, she knitted every little scrap of yarn and didn't finish on exactly the same repeat of the sock, but I think they're really lovely and they're so nice and bright. And I chose a blue contrast yarn to go with it because I thought that blue out of the stripes was my favourite, and Adam loves a nice warm cozy sock. So I will take one off the sock blocker so you can see how long it is. Actually, if I lift it up you can see. So that's how the sock blocker comes up to there, and then it comes a little bit longer. What I will try and do is, over the weekend, if I get Adam to put them on and to model them, I'll pop a little video on my Instagram account. So do check out my Instagram account at the weekend. I have a tutorial for where I split a sock tube into 2 pairs of socks, and I will leave links to those tutorials in the description bar down below, but obviously I've only split the tube into 1 pair for this instance. So there we go, that's my first finished object to show you. I have a second one to show you. So I did start these last week. These are some gorgeous little baby mittens, and they are a pattern by Wasson, and the pattern is called the Love Heart Baby Mittens. And I've just sort of shaped them into the shape like as if they've got little fingers in them, but there is a turn up cuff at the bottom which is lovely as well, which means it can keep these mittens nice and tightly on the wrist, and then they've still got plenty of room in the hand bit. So I finished those. They're plain on the other side, and what I should have done is stuff them with some yarn. So there we go. I've stuffed them with some yarn so that you can see what they look like, but there's quite a bit of space in the mitteny bit, and then you use a different needle size for the little cuff. So those are finished, and they are knitted with a Rowan DK pure wool, and this is something I've had in my stash for absolutely ages. So I used some of that, and not very much because it was only a 50-gram ball before, and then just some Undyed DK that I got from my shop as a combination. But I'm really pleased with those, and they probably took about an evening to finish 1 mitten, which is brilliant. You can get a few more pairs knitted before the baby comes. So that is my second finished object, and I have got a third project that I haven't actually properly started yet, but I thought that I'd show you what colourways I'd chosen. So I'm going to knit the Wishes cardigan by Locatelli, and this was on my Make 9 list, and I'm actually doing quite well with my Make 9 list. I've got a little autumnal ornament, the Wishes cardigan, and the Stephen West mystery knit along on my Make 9 list left to do for knitting, so that's really good. So I thought that I'd knit the Wishes cardigan in this muted sort of yellow colour. And this is actually a yarn that I haven't dyed for my shop before. It's a different base. It's got llama, silk and merino. I've bought a batch in and I wanted to sort of test it out by knitting a cardigan with it first, and then I've dyed it. But because the colour of the yarn was quite a grey brown to start with, it's muted the colour really nicely. And I think that that will make a lovely autumnal sort of cardigan. And the Wishes cardigan is quite a floaty cardigan, and I think that that'll be perfect to take me all the way through winter into spring as well. And I can't wait to cast it on. I haven't even done a swatch yet, but I do have my needles ready and my pattern printed out to get started. But I do think that's a really a lovely staple pattern that I can wear in my wardrobe quite a lot, and I may knit a couple of them if I get on with the construction really well. So I'm going to be starting that over the weekend. So I haven't got a lot of knitting to show you because I've been working on samples and little tests of the knitting patterns that I've got, that I'm going to be sending out to those people that bought the advents and the sock sets for the Christmas Starlight Wishes sock sets as well. So I've been working on those over the last month or so. Watch out for that. I'll be giving you a little sneaky peek in the next couple of weeks, so watch out for that as well. So we're now on to the gadget section. Now, I have been purchasing I've purchased a gorgeous little basket from Dunelm, but I think that they sell these baskets in lots of different places and they look pretty much the same. So this is from Dunelm, but you can get them from Ikea, and I've seen them in Home Bargains in the UK as well. But it's like a metal mesh basket with a lovely wooden handle, and I did actually purchase this to put the baby's nappies in downstairs. But I've just stole it for now, for the time being, to put some knitting projects in because I just thought it was lovely. So I've put a couple of small knitting project bags in there, and I have that next to me on the sofa when I'm sort of wanting to pick up some knitting while I'm watching the telly. And I just thought that that was a lovely little gadget to have as a sort of place to keep your knitting in the house. I will leave a link to the Dunelm shop where I got mine, but they, like I said, they do sell them at Ikea and also Home Bargains as well. Those are the places I know of, so they probably sell them in more places. But I just got mine from Dunelm because we were ordering a blind from there online anyway, and I thought I might as well pop one in my basket as I was purchasing something already. And I think it's a brilliant idea actually. You could keep like minis in there. It's a lovely little basket, and I'm very tempted to buy myself another one, because if one's going to be used for the baby's nappies later, I'm going to need one for my knitting. So that is the gadget for this week. But I do have a few questions off my Ask Me Anything thread on my Ravelry group. So you can either pop over to the Ravelry group and ask away, or you can also email me on crafthousemagik@gmail.com if you've got any questions, and I'll answer them on the podcast. So the first question is from Eleanor, and she was asking for some advice on choosing a size for a kimono style cover up which is crocheted with cotton DK. Now the pattern, she did send me the link. I will pop a picture on the screen so you can see what it looks like, and I will pop the link in the description bar down below to where she got the pattern from as well. But basically it's quite a large sort of oversized cardigan type of thing. They advise to use cotton DK to make it. Just be quite careful with anything that's sort of long and going to be quite heavy, because even merino stretches quite a bit, but I think cotton stretches even more, so you just have to be really careful with how you choose your sizes to start with. So my suggestion is that you knit a swatch wash the swatch, block out the swatch as much as you can, and then just let it shrink a little bit, and then measure it, and then choose your size based on that. So I think you're better off, if you're between sizes, go into the size down, just because if you've got that extra weight, it's going to be a lot heavier and drag the material down and stretch it more. So just be careful about making sure that your gauge gives you the similar gauge to what the pattern says. So I hope that helps, Eleanor. It is very tricky with cotton. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't knitted a lot of garments with cotton just because I'm scared of them stretching an awful lot. So I tend to stick to more rustic yarns or merino for those. But best of luck with it. So the next question is from Anna, and she was asking me about cloth diapers and whether I've thought about having them and using them for my baby. She suggests that flat diapers and woolen soakers for the outside is something that she's used in the past, and actually the woolen soakers that go on the outside are actually quite quick to knit. Now I'm a bit lazy, Anna. I've got loads of projects that I want to do, so I've actually purchased from some cloth nappies, but I am going to try cloth nappies, and I like the idea of things being reusable, and I just don't like the idea of having so many dirty nappies going into landfill. So I'm definitely one for choosing something that's reusable and rewashable. But I just thought I'd show you some of the prints that I've purchased. So these are from a company called Totsbots, these particular ones, but aren't they cute? And look at those prints. Absolutely gorgeous. So these are the tiny newborn ones, and these particular ones here are all in one, so that the absorbent part is all in the same piece as the outer part. But you can buy them where you've got the cover, which are the same as these ones. So these are all the different beautifully printed covers that I'm going to use, and then use the flat cloth diapers underneath. Oh, aren't they cute? I could not resist. This is just some of the ones that I've purchased. So these are the smaller ones. So I've got a set of them for sort of a very small baby and newborn baby, and then I've got a set that's for a slightly bigger, over 13 pounds baby. So I'll be using cloth nappies throughout, which I'm really excited about because they're such gorgeous prints. So there we go. I'm afraid I'm not going to be knitting any beautiful covers just because I've got way too many other things that I want to do. For example, this weekend I want to do some covers for the mattress in the Moses basket, so I'm hoping to get those finished to show you next week. So the next question is from Adriana, and she was saying that she's going to be making a Belle costume for the Beauty and the Beast and using quite a lot of satin, organza and chiffon fabrics, and she wanted me to give any advice for sewing on those fabrics, but especially for narrow hems. Now there's a number of ways you can finish off those tricky to use fabrics. So I think when I did my bridesmaid dresses, when I hemmed the bottom of those, I did use a narrow rolled hem on my overlocker, which was really easy to use. I found that gave a beautiful finish on a chiffon overskirt that I had on those dresses. But you can use a narrow rolled hem foot, which folds over the fabric for you and then top stitches it. It's sometimes tricky to get it started. Once you've got it started, that's fine. But the only thing is, if you leave the hemming until the end of the construction of the dress, the side seams can get in the way a bit. So you might want to hem on the rolled hem foot, do one side and then the other, so you don't have to go over the side seams, if that makes sense. So you've got another couple of options as well. You could use a bias binding that you could sew to the bottom and then turn it to the inside and then hand sew it, or you can get proper hemming tape that you can put on the bottom of the fabric of the material and just iron it on if you're worried about it ruching up or anything. So those are the methods that I'd probably use. Adriana did mention that I showed a prim seam tape that I put round the neck of the dress that I made last week to stabilise it rather than doing stitching. I don't know if that would really be strong enough to maintain. It's more of a tape to maintain the stability of the fabric while you're sewing it rather than being a hemming tape as such, so I'd go for a specific hemming tape. Other tips for sewing on very fine fabrics: you could use a tissue paper just to make it a little bit thicker and then tear it away afterwards, and I'd use the right needle. So I tend to use, for very fine fabrics, a Microtex needle that's like a size 10 or even thinner if you're using very fine fabrics. What I'd suggest first is, if you decide on one method, just try it out on a little sample of fabric just to make sure that you're getting the right finish before you start on the main garment. That's always a good thing, because you don't want to mess up some work that you've spent hours joining the whole bodice of and then mess up the hem. So I think that's all for today. I'm sorry it's a bit shorter. Hopefully next week I'll have more to show you. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye!